Hello and welcome to Ames in Focus, the podcast where we spotlight the stories and spaces that helps Ames thrive. I'm Bill Gebhart with the City of Ames, and today we're taking a look at the past, present, and future of one of our community's most treasured places, the Ames Public Library. Back in 1904, the Ames Public Library opened its doors thanks to a $10,000 gift from Andrew Carnegie. Fast forward to today, and the Ames Public Library is a staple and a safe haven for so many in Ames. Joining me today is a familiar face, Megan Klein-Hewett, Adult Services Manager from the Ames Public Library. Megan, welcome back to Ames in Focus. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start with a little bit of history. Can you tell us about the library's original Carnegie connection?
Yes. So as you said, the library received a grant to open, a $10,000 grant. That whole process started well before that. In the late 1800s, the city of Ames, well, not the city of Ames, but Ames had a small subscription library that was run out of a variety of different locations, often storefronts or upstairs above a business. But you had to pay in order to use the materials at the library. So in the early 1900s, the women of the local PEO group decided that they wanted a public library. They knew that Carnegie was giving away these funds. So they lobbied Mayor Parley Sheldon and had him contact Carnegie and ask for these funds. So the city of Ames was granted $10,000 in 1902, which really kicked off that process of building the library. Carnegie would give a city the funds for the building, but the city had to promise that it would secure the land, it would provide ongoing funding, and that it would support that library in an ongoing matter. So this community had to vote to build this public library. It was an election where women were allowed to vote, even though the 19th Amendment hadn't passed yet,
right.
Which is pretty cool. And it just shows how important women were to all of the early public libraries in the country.
Absolutely.
This happened in community after community, that women's groups were really leading the charge. So the library opened in October of 1904. In Iowa, we have the second most Carnegie libraries of any state in the country, only beaten by Indiana. So there are Carnegies all over the place.
Do you know how many Carnegie libraries there are?
I don't, not off the top of my head, but I know that there are some that are public libraries and academic libraries. Carnegie was not specific to only public libraries. He would provide money to universities as well.
So how has the Carnegie Corporation, right, that holds Andrew Carnegie's assets, I guess, how has the Carnegie Corporation been involved with the Ames Public Library since 1904?
So we did receive a small second grant in 1907 for $6,000 to expand the library, which was really rare. Libraries typically only received one grant from Carnegie and just lived with what they had, basically. But
right.
We put a very small addition on the building in 1907. And up until recently, there hasn't been a huge connection outside of those original gifts. But in 2026, the Carnegie Corporation has gifted every single Carnegie library in the country $10,000.
Wow.
Which is crazy that it also aligns with our original gift back in 1904.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the case for every library, but it is for us. So that feels very full circle that we were receiving this $10,000.
Yeah, and so that big question is, how will the library use this money, right? So the first grant was to build the building. The second grant was to improve the building or build that addition. How will they use this money? What are some of the ideas that are being discussed?
We've got quite a few projects going on, but the project we are putting this money toward is to expand the study rooms on the second floor in the adult services area. So it is going back toward the building, which also feels very full circle.
Absolutely.
Sheila and I, the library director, really liked that idea of putting it back into the building and putting it back into community resources that can be used from day one once those study rooms are built. So we have 3 study rooms right now on the second floor. We'll add 2 more just right alongside the ones that are already there.
And so talking about these adult study rooms, what is the vision? What are these used for?
Our study rooms are used for all kinds of things. So everything from somebody who has a job interview or just needs a space to work or study quietly where they can kind of have a space to themselves. Small group study, very popular. Sometimes we have folks who come and watch movies or play video games or board games. So all kinds of different uses. Another thing that has been very popular lately has been our use of them as office hours space for some community partners. We have a number of community partners like Irely Ball, Mary Greeley Medical Center, that use this space to meet with community members one-on-one. So we're really providing that space so that folks can have access, easy access in one place that's centrally located. But all of that takes away from like sort of the drop-in study room use.
Absolutely. And so you said you have 3 rooms right now?
That's right.
And so what would be the plan?
So we would have 5 rooms in total. So right now we have 2 large rooms, 1 small. We would add 2 more small rooms. And I don't want to leave out youth services. They have 5 study rooms as well. But we do have periods where every single study room in the building is in use. So we definitely know that they would be used and popular.
Absolutely. So no, that sounds like a great use of the money. Like you said, putting it back into the building as it is a full circle moment from even just building the building. What are some other ideas for the money?
So we've got, like I said, a bunch of other projects going on. One of those is some outdoor beautification. We're working with a landscape architect at Iowa State to redesign our sort of main flower bed out front. So we have plans to replant that this spring with more native plants, have less spots for annuals, and really fill it out with perennials that will attract pollinators and other critters. You'd be surprised about the critters that live up there. There are always rabbits and squirrels and bunnies. Yeah. So it'll be fun to provide a better environment for them. Another project we are looking at is to create an accessible staff entrance. All of our staff entrances require pulling a door open. So in order to make our space more accessible for our staff, we'll be putting some money towards that project as well.
And so it's really about kind of a total experience, accessibility, welcoming feeling, giving that to the library, as well as having those more study rooms that people can use all the time.
Absolutely.
So how do you see this grant and these funds fitting into the library's broader goals with these projects?
Yeah, we really want to make sure that the library is a welcome and accessible space to the entire community. So ensuring that our study rooms and our physical spaces are accessible and available is incredibly important. Like I said, our study rooms are often always in use. So creating more spaces that are accessible to more people is hugely important. We also are, 10, 11 years into this building. And so we're continuing to find ways to make it work for us long term, to really show the value of that initial investment from 2014, because the building does continue to serve us, and we want it to continue to serve us well into the future.
And so, I mean, these funds and the projects that are going to come along with those will just have a pretty big impact, both on patrons and staff and anyone visiting the library.
Absolutely. I think that we need to make sure that our spaces, like I said, continue to be welcoming, and everything from having the types of space that you want to use when you want to use it to having a beautiful, robust flower bed outside are part of that experience.
And like you said, it's full circle. A Carnegie grant helped to build the library. Now another one's going to help it evolve.
Yes. And I think that is a really beautiful thing, right?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
We've got this really circular thing. Not every library has stayed in their original Carnegie building. And I'm a big architectural history nerd. And that's one of the things I love the most about our building.
Is that you're still there.
We're still there, and we still have that connection back to the original space.
Okay. We're going to do rapid fire for our ending as we wrap things up. So if you could go back in time and walk through the original 1904 library, what's one thing you'd be on the lookout for?
I would love to be able to walk through the original front doors. So the original front doors were on Douglas Avenue. It's where those 2 big columns are in the original part of the building. Okay. And there are these stairs going up to it. And I would love to be able to walk through that space. You can kind of see it has the feel in the Rotary Room on the 2nd floor.
Okay,
That's where that entrance came into. But I would love to be able to walk through that space and just know what it felt like.
I think that sounds awesome. So budget aside, let's say there's not a cap on any budget. What would be your dream addition to the outside of the library?
I wish we just had more outside space generally. Obviously we're kind of a little landlocked between the church and the parking lot and the Elks Lodge. But I would love for us to be able to have an outdoor space where we could maybe have a story time or have programs outside. We do those things, but not in a space that's really tailored to it. Yeah. So it would be great to be able to have something like that.
Yeah, very cool. And then finally, what do you think Andrew Carnegie would say if he could come and visit the Ames Public Library today?
I think Carnegie was a really interesting person, and he has, a somewhat difficult past, but I think he would be really impressed to see how his legacy continues to live on. I don't think he'd be surprised by how his legacy is living on, but I think he'd be impressed that there are communities like ours that are still utilizing that original space that he helped to fund, and that his dream of encouraging education and information and access to those things is continuing on as well.
And just how much that it's grown since his initial investment too. That investment has paid back multiple times over.
Yes, definitely.
Megan, thank you so much for helping us to celebrate where the library has been and for giving us a glimpse at what is next. And to our listeners, if you want to learn more about the library's Carnegie history or stay up to date on these upcoming projects, visit amespubliclibrary.org. And next time you walk past the building, take a moment to appreciate how a 1904 vision is still growing strong in 2026. Thanks for tuning in. Read local, think big, and we'll see you next time on Ames in Focus, where every chapter counts.
Ames in Focus is a City of Ames podcast.